Thanks for joining me. Before we start the review, I'll just fill you in a little teeny weeny bit of background. For various reasons, my wife and I decided to take up walking about 3 or 4 months ago, and we now regularly walk about 2 or 3 miles a day. In England, there are so many public footpaths, you never need a GPS system to find your way around. What you see on the screen are the 2 aids that I have been using up to now to find and judge the distance of the public footpaths that we've been following. Now, if you like to go to this website footpathmaps.com, you'll find a full set of OS maps for the whole of Great Britain. All you need to do is to put yourself a postcode in there of an area that you're interested in. CO5 gets us into the Colchester area, and now we'd want to go for a walk somewhere near the sea, and we'll take a look at a little place called Rabness. We can go to zoom level 8, which is 1 more, and now we've got a little detailed area that we can go walking in. The first thing I like to do is make sure that I don't go backwards and forwards along the same path. I try and find a circular path. So here we've got one which we can reach by road, park the car, and then we can walk across fields, through woodland, and in fact this is a bird reserve as well. We can walk up the road. Generally what I've found is that where it shows a road like this, there's actually a parallel path that people have made inside the wood. And then we can walk through the wood, back to the railway line, and back to the car. Question is, how far is it? But now we'll move to the other piece of software that I'm using, which is runmyroute.com. So you get up this entry screen. We're not interested in registering, so let's just go ahead and use the map. We select full screen and we'll type in the same postcode again. So here we have Colchester again, and we'll move the map into this area here and we'll zoom in, and here we see Stourwood. We can go a little bit closer, and now we can go to satellite view, and here we have the same picture on Google Earth that we've got here on the OS map. Now it's very simple with this software. All we need to do is first of all check where we can park the car. Well, here's the wood, and we're going to be right on the corner of this road here. So we can go to Street View. Right, so now we're in Street View and we're approaching the corner where we think we might want to start our walk. And if we look carefully, we'll see that there's a public footpath signpost there, and very conveniently we've got a little lay-by here to park. So here we are at this intersection here where we're going to start our walk. We park the car there, and now we will start our walk just here. We follow this public footpath which looks like somebody's driveway, and then we've got to walk around the wood, and we can just about work out where the path is through the wood, and we can see the footpath very clearly on the map here. So we can now go back through the wood, back to the car. A total of 1.9 miles. Perfect. That's how we've been doing it up to now, and therefore we really don't need a GPS system. We shall soon be spending a couple of weeks in Scotland, and we plan to do some walking there. Now, there's no such thing as a public footpath in Scotland because you have a right to roam anywhere. But there are lots of documented interesting trails, and this is a website that will take you and give you information about those trails. If we choose an area, Loch Lomond for example, we can go to the Loch Lomond area and we can find information about all sorts of trails in that area. Right, now we're into the detail. We'll see that it is peppered with OS reference points at various parts of the trail, and this is the main reason why we have decided to choose to use a GPS system, so that we don't get lost. Well, how do you go about finding a suitable GPS system for walking? I have an Android phone and my wife has an iPhone 5. I've downloaded an application called View Ranger onto both of those phones, but to be honest, the GPS systems on a phone are not very reliable, not very strong. They don't pick up the signal quickly, and they certainly don't retain the signal when you're underneath cover like trees. Now, a friend of mine has got a memory map GPS with a full UK OS maps, and he is very happy with it. Well, after reading all the reviews on good old Amazon, here's what I finished up with. Now, I have to say I didn't buy from Amazon, but I eventually saved myself a little bit of money by buying it from the Ordnance Survey shop. While I'm waiting a few days for the GPS unit to arrive, I've been to the Garmin website and I've downloaded and installed a program called Basecamp, which will allow me to plan my routes on the computer and then upload them to the handheld GPS. The map set that's provided is pretty basic, as you can see. Well, here it is. It's arrived. Now, it's arrived with a lovely label on the outside of the transport packaging warning me about lithium batteries that are included in the package, which is a bit of a surprise because it clearly is advertised without batteries. And in anticipation of that, I've been out and bought some nickel metal hydride batteries with a charger. So, who knows what we're going to find inside the packet. Well, the first thing we find is a programmed data card which has got the full Ordnance Survey mapping for Great Britain. Notification about Basecamp, which we've already downloaded. Instruction manual. USB data transfer cable. And a belt clip. And finally, now, the moment of truth. This little clip here, I believe, undoes the battery compartment. Lift and twist. No lithium ion batteries. The good news is, I haven't wasted my money. I should be able to install a couple of pre-charged nickel metal hydride batteries. I think before we do that, underneath the batteries at the back here is a little slot for a micro SD card. So I have to assume, without looking at the instructions, that the first thing that we should do is to install the maps. So here we have a standard SD card, which I think, and there's the SD card. So the little flap lifts up. I've just noticed that on the side here there's an open, which goes that way. So therefore I have to assume that when I push this down and pull the guard, yes, it closes it. So this is a slide backwards and forwards mechanism. While we're fiddling around, and let's just have a look how this might fit on. One has to assume that it fits on like this somehow. And slides up. Clip. The only impractical thing about that is if I decide to clip that on my belt, how am I going to be able to use it? So I think we may be adapting that in some way and making this a lot longer. So we take that clip off for the time being, and on the side here we've got an on off button. Let's turn it on and see what happens. Choose a language. English is by default, English is the language, so we'll just press enter. It thinks I'm in the United States of America at the moment. Well, I have to say that's pretty impressive. because here we are in my office, and after about a minute it's managed to pick up satellites and tell me that we're in Great Britain. So let's just zoom in and see just how good it is at tracking my position. Wow. Well, there I am. France is close. That's pretty amazing, considering I'm not in view of any satellites at all. Now, I've never used a handheld GPS system before, so over in the corner of the screen here we've got a north pointing arrow which tells us where north is, but the good news is, just like a car sat nav, the map orientates itself to the direction that you are travelling in. So this is going to be pretty intuitive when we get out in the field with it. I just click the on off button to turn it off for a minute, and what I find is that I get an information screen which tells me all about the backlight, the battery life, and the number of satellites that I'm locked onto. So I suspect to turn it off we have to hold it. Sure we do. Well, I've just had a 2 or 3 minute read of the quick start manual that they provide you with. It's all pretty straightforward, and everything we've done so far has been very intuitive. Full set of instructions on all the buttons, how to start it up. The one thing that I didn't do, which is quite an important thing after acquiring the satellite signal, was to go in and set the battery type. So we need to just go in and do that. We can again press the start. It takes about 15 or 20 seconds to get to the maps. Now we go to the menu button, which is here, and we press that twice. 1, 2, and that gets us to an overall menu, and one of the features that's at the top left hand corner is the settings, so we can go into enter, and then we have system, press enter again. So what I've got to do is come down to battery type. Now I press enter, and I get the choice of alkaline, which is obviously the default, and nickel metal hydride rechargeables, which is what I'm using. So I press enter, and there we are, we're done. So they're the main features set up now.